It reminds me of a story of that I heard just this last week of, and we can apply it to real estate. A young cub reporter comes in, he's been assigned a story, and so he comes in and goes up to the editor, and with a great smile on his face, you can just see the sparkle in his eye as he hands the editor his completed story. And the editor says, "Okay, thank you very much," takes it, puts it up on the thing, says, "I'll get back to you." Of course, the cub reporter was hoping that the editor would stop whatever he's doing and read the letter or read the article right now and applaud him like crazy. About 20 minutes after the cub reporter left, the editor called him in, and young man comes in, and the editor has the piece in his hands, and he's got kind of a smile on his face, and the cub reporter's going, "All right, I nailed this, baby." And the editor looks at him and says, "Is this your best work?" The cub reporter just kind of looked back at him and says, "No, give it back. Let me work on that some more this evening." And the next morning he comes in and got this great look on his face. He's smiling to beat the band, and he hands the editor the story, and the editor takes it and he sets it over here in this pile and says, I'll get back to you. About a half hour later, maybe even 45 minutes later, he calls in the cub reporter, and he's holding it in front of him, and he's smiling a little bigger than he was yesterday. And the cub comes in, sees the smile, and kind of tickled with himself, and the editor looks at him and says, "Is this the best you've got?" The young reporter looks at him and has this kind of a dire look on his face, and he says, "No, give it to me. Let me work on this just a little bit more tonight." Editor says, "Great." The next morning he comes in, he's got you could just, there's a bounce in his step. There's just something about him that the editor looks at him, and he hands it to the editor, and he looks at him and says, "Now, is this the best you've got?" And the cub reporter says, "Yes, sir, it is." He said, "Then I'll read it." If you've come up with 3 problems, solved all 3 problems, and you're in front of your customer and you still can't solve it, call me. I'll walk you through it. But what we discovered is when we can help people learn to go back and think about what they did that maybe wasn't as good as they could have been, and we coach them now to be as good as they can possibly be simply by asking questions. There were no answers. The editor didn't have any. The editor only had questions. Is this your best? Is this the best you've got? Are you sure this is your best? Never had a single answer. And then he said, "Okay, now I'll read it." Because he didn't want to waste his time reading something that wasn't that cub reporter's best. If you can start there with your new agents, if you can let them know seriously that you're looking for their best and that it's important to you, guess what? It becomes important to them. And then if they should ever get an audience with you, they're filled with great pride because they know they're bringing you something that you will be proud of as well.